Hey guys, First Regardsman here. I'll be tier listing every single weapon in Space Marine 2 patch 8.0. Now, all the weapons in this game have gone through a significant perk rework since the game came out, and really they are all viable on nearly all content except for like maybe Wave 20 plus Chaos. Some definitely struggle there, but besides that, they're all pretty decent. But I will say they are not all created equally, and some of them are just blatantly better than others. So first up, we have the Auto Bolt Rifle. You know, this gun is strange. I do enjoy it. It's pretty fun to use. It has a really thick magazine capacity, super good ammo capacity. It's just that it's kind of outclassed by every single other automatic weapon in this game, and really it has like the most boring weapon perk tree of any gun in the game as well. Could probably be reworked again. For that reason alone, I'm going to put it in C. It's kind of unfortunate. This one really should be buffed. Probably the only one I'd say is like properly subpar for bolt weapons currently, but unfortunately that's where it is. So next weapon we have here is the Stalker Bolt Rifle. This weapon is S tier. Well, not S tier, but it's A tier. It is a top 5 gun in this game. I think the Stalker Bolt Rifle is incredible. It does a superb boss damage versus Neurothrope. It's probably like the best Neurothrope killer in the game besides things like a Last Fusel and like a Heavy Bolter. Incredible ammo economy, incredibly good on every single class it is on. It has excellent contested health recovery, and really it just is that gun for bolt weapons. This might actually be the best bolt weapon in the entire game. It really only has like 2 competitors for that. So I would put it in A. Next weapon here is a Heavy Bolt Rifle. This weapon, I actually love this gun. This weapon is not like the best thing ever, but it is good at what it does, which is culling hordes. It has very consistent damage output. It does kind of struggle with contested health recovery, mainly against Chaos, so for that reason alone, I will probably put it in B tier. It is not as good as a Stalker Bolt Rifle. It is definitely better than the Auto Bolt Rifle. Its ammo economy is incredible. It has a lot of good perks, a pretty excellent perk tree, and also it's just a lot of fun to use. So B tier for this one. If you like the Heavy Bolt Rifle, it's definitely a good pick. It does struggle versus Chaos, but most automatic weapons do anyways, except for the next one we're going to talk about, which is the Bolt Carbine. This is like the best automatic bolt weapon in the game. Its only competitor is really like the Heavy Bolter for that. It has incredible contested health recovery. I think this is like one of the best guns in the entire game for Chaos. It really just one of the best guns, period. The ammo economy is phenomenal. It has so much ammo, an enormous magazine capacity, and really every class that's on, which is like the Vanguard, Tactical, and the the Sniper, this one is just an S tier pick. So we're going to put it into A. You can really make an argument it is above the Stalker Bolt Rifle, and honestly, I probably would put it here because it does incredible boss damage. At close range, this thing's headshot multiplier goes up so much that your damage output is kind of absurd for like what is basically just an SMG, and then you can just put it, so I just put it right here. That's really where I think it belongs. I think it is slightly above the Stalker Bolt Rifle. If you want to say the Stalker Bolt Rifle is better, you definitely could, but like either way, these two guns are like the best 2 options on whatever class they're on. So Bolt Carbine, easy A. Next weapon here is the Marksman Carbine. Now, this weapon's kind of unfortunate. It seriously struggles with magazine capacity and ammo capacity. That being said, it is super fun to use. It does have decent damage, especially if you like nail your headshots. It is just kind of struggling compared to a lot of the automatic weapons. It's also not remotely as good as the Stalker Bolt Rifle, even for boss damage. Its headshot multiplier could be buffed quite a bit, in my opinion. I would say you could put this thing in like a mid-tier B. It's not bad by any means. It's definitely undervalued. I don't use it too much, but the times I have used it, it is pretty good. It's just that it's kind of outclassed by its automatic component for the Bolt Carbine, and that's why we put it here. Next weapon is Heavy Bolter. Now, the Heavy class, he's just him, and he has like 3 of the best guns in the whole game. Heavy Bolter positively shreds everything when you nail them in the head, and it's also incredibly accurate with its accuracy variant. Excellent ammo economy, especially with his auxiliary reload prestige perk, and it simply dumps out damage. Amazing contested health recovery, one of the best weapons for Chaos. The only thing that's really lacking is like the AoE potential of his other guns, but it still has great piercing, and I kind of have to put it into A tier. I'd say like a high A tier. It's probably above these two, because really the Heavy is like the gun class, so it makes sense he'd have some of the best weapons in the entire game for guns, but Heavy Bolter really is that gun, and the only reason it's an A tier and not S is because he has some even better options we'll get into later. Next weapon here is Last Fusel. Last Fusel is a fan favorite. I do think this gun is very strong, incredible cleave potential, incredible ammo economy, especially the versatile precision perk. It is not quite as strong as it used to be, mainly because the charge up time is kind of hard to pull off with how many enemies there are in game currently. If you don't take the ammo capacity variant, especially in siege mode, you will run out of ammo, and the rate of fire is pretty good in operations. It's just that the Last Fusel, while amazing and pretty decent for ammo economy, is kind of struggling at times at properly pulling off the headshots it needs to, and overall it is still good. It's just not quite S like it used to be, so I would put it probably right here. It is a good gun, I want to say that very clearly, but the Stalker Bolt Rifle I think is better now, especially since the last Fusel is only on the Sniper class, and for the Sniper class to get like maximum money out of this thing, he has to build into the perk Targeted Shot, which means he is giving up his perk Tactical Ambush, which is far better for boss damage. And last Fusel, while definitely A tier, is kind of worse than the Stalker Bolt Rifle just because of its perk synergy. And like Targeted Shot, it's not a bad perk, it's just not remotely as good as Tactical Ambush is currently. That's why we put it here. Next weapon here is the Bolt Sniper. This weapon is pretty much the last Fusel if you could fire instantaneously, and it was worse in every other way. It's harder to hit headshots with. It does less damage overall than the last Fusel does, mainly because you can't cleave hordes as easily. Its penetration is good. Unfortunately, the penetration is pretty hard to pull off because enemies have to like super hardcore line up for you. And overall, I'd say it's fun, but it's probably like the worst weapon on Sniper currently. It's just like, it's a lot of risk, not a ton of reward, and even if you nail all of your headshots, you're just going to be better off with the last Fusel, because even though I did say the last Fusel's charge time can make it hard to pull off the headshots it needs to in Siege mode, the Bolt Sniper is just like, it just does less. That's really the best way to put it. It fits a niche very well. It does do significant damage to things like Zoanthropes and stuff like that, but so is the Stalker Bolt Rifle, and it runs into the same problem that the last Fusel does, that to hit proper breakpoints, you need to use things like Targeted Shot, and that way you're giving up your Tactical Ambush perk. So for that reason alone, I put it in like a very high C. It's probably one of the more mediocre weapons in the game currently, unfortunately. Next weapon here is Melta Rifle. This weapon might be like the most overrated gun in this game. It is pretty good. It's pretty strong at what it does, which is like horde clearing and staggering enemies, but like its damage output is not incredible. It's really primarily used for just slapping up Minoris enemies on top of staggering Majoris. It is definitely better than a lot of the other options in this game. I would still say it is B tier. I would put it above the Marksman Carbine for sure. I don't know if I'd say it's better than the Heavy Bolt Rifle. I mean, maybe it is, but it has no headshot multiplier, has a very short range, and you're really stuck using your secondary against some of the other extremists, guys like the Zoanthropes and stuff if you have this gun, and I just don't rate it that highly because it just doesn't do enough to justify being an A tier. At least not anymore, because on launch this weapon was pretty broken, but no longer. Next weapon here is S tier, because this is the Multi-Melta. This is like the big brother of the Melta Rifle. This one is actually cracked. This is like a top 2 gun in this whole game. This thing simply annihilates everything. Heavy is that guy, and this gun is that weapon. It will blast through entire hordes. Its ammo economy is incredible. Its damage output is honestly astonishing. Even at close range, it can dominate some of the bosses in this game. The only thing it really struggles with is doing proper boss damage at range, and it's not super good against guys like Neurothropes, but it does do tremendous stagger, absolutely annihilates most of the melee extremists in this game, and it's, even though it kind of struggles at times versus Chaos compared to the Heavy Plasma, it is still an S tier weapon for sure, and one of the most dominant guns in this entire game, which is why we put it up here. Next weapon here is the Bolt Rifle. This is not the Bolt Rifle grenade launcher, this is just the standard Bolt Rifle. I think this gun is like ever so slightly above the Auto Bolt Rifle, because the Bolt Rifle component for this is just not very good, and even though it does have a pretty interesting perk tree compared to the Auto Bolt Rifle, it is worse. The Heavy Bolt Rifle is worse than the Bolt Carbine for sure, and definitely the Heavy Bolter. I think this gun could use like a significant buff, or just like maybe another perk tree rework, or just give it something interesting, because overall the standard bolt component for this gun is just very mediocre, especially versus for your contested health recovery, because the main thing with your primary weapons in this game for them to be like proper S tier or like A tier is that they need to have good contested health recovery, because that is mandatory at times, especially for Chaos. And the way this game is set up is that primary weapons are the best option for your contested health recovery, like 9 times out of 10. And when you're using like a bolt rifle or an auto bolt rifle or even a heavy bolt rifle, you're kind of stuck with your secondary at times for like a plasma pistol or heavy bolt pistol to get your contested HP back properly, which is why this one goes to C tier. Now, Bolt Rifle with Grenade Launcher. This gun is excellent. I love this gun a lot. It's actually pretty good. It's just that it's not as good as it used to be. I would say it's probably a high B, especially in Siege mode, because you can buy ammo boxes. This thing is like perma-stuck on the Tactical class, and Tactical can take advantage of the grenades quite a bit. He can like refund them like, one at a time every 30 seconds. That's not as good as it used to be, but still pretty strong option. I don't think it's as strong enough to be in the A tier, but the Bolt Rifle with Grenade Launcher, some people think this gun is trash now. You do kind of have to build around the grenades, but overall, still a B tier pick. I think it's pretty good. Next weapon here is the, is this the Oculus carbine? Yes, Oculus here. So the Oculus is a funny gun because this gun used to be the best on Vanguard until they added in the bolt carbine for him. Now it is completely outclassed. It does have a decent headshot multiplier at close range. It does have a scope, which pretty much like narrows down your aim very easily. And the ammo capacity is quite good on it as well. It has pretty decent ammo economy. Unfortunately, it's just outclassed. I kind of have to put it in like a low B, I think. Or really, I'll put it above Marksman carbine because it is a good gun. It's not bad by any means. It's just that bolt carbine exists and this gun's outclassed by it. Next weapon here is the Heavy Plasma Incinerator. Now, the Heavy Plasma Incinerator is the best gun in Space Marine 2. This gun has been taken to the highest wave completions on Siege mode for pretty much all builds of this game in solo, and overall, it's just staggering how good this weapon is. The damage is incredible. The AoE potential versus both Chaos and Tyranids is absolutely wild. It dominates triple boss spawns, can do significant damage at range. The main reason this gun is over the Multi-Melta is because things like triple Hellbrutes you simply don't want to get that close to, and Multi-Melta does struggle with boss damage at range, and also this boss damage is just better overall because the AoE of the plasma is just phenomenal, and when you stack like a tactical bot on top of this weapon, your damage is properly absurd. It is a truly glorious gun. Heavy is just that guy, and this is the best gun in Space Marine 2. Easy S tier. Probably these are like the only two S tier weapons in this game, in my opinion, because they just dominate like no other gun in the game. That's really the best way to put it. These two are just the best because all these other weapons don't properly compare to the damage output they can do, because Heavy simply does the most damage in this game, and this is part of that. Now, next weapon here is the Standard Plasma Incinerator. I like this gun a lot. I would actually put this gun probably over the last Fusel. The main reason the Plasma Incinerator is so good is that it just does tremendous AoE for like a standard gun. It's also attached to the tactical class, works very well with his Emperor's Vengeance perk. You basically have infinite ammo with this thing, on top of the fact that it does great boss damage. Plasma in this game is very strong. The only thing that this weapon properly struggles with compared to like a Stalker bolt rifle is contested health recovery, because it is very charge shot dependent, and if you are stuck in like a melee Terminator or something, you cannot get charge shots off. You used to be able to in between their attacks, but they did nerf it a little bit. They removed one of its charge rate perks, and with that gone, it did get knocked down a tiny bit, but it still works with the plasma boost perk very well. Very ammo efficient, tremendous damage, and it's attached to an excellent class, so I would put it in A tier right below the Stalker bolt rifle and bolt carbine. I do think these are the three best guns for the tactical class in the game currently in this order. Now, next weapon we have here is the secondary. So actually we're moving to secondaries now because we just did all the primaries here. So this is a primary tier list. If you're curious, I think these are the best primary weapons in this game currently. Now, next weapon here is the Plasma Pistol. Plasma Pistol is an S. Now, I just want to be very clear that S tier for a primary weapon is not the same as S tier for a secondary. I'm more so tier listing these in like terms of the slot that they're in. It's like this is an S tier pick for your secondary slot. It's not the say that your Plasma Pistol is going to outperform your Heavy Plasma, because that's obviously not true. But the Plasma Pistol in this game is amazing for AoE gun strikes in the Siege mode. It does a truly tremendous amount of damage overall, because it just does the AoE gun strike. It hits multiple Majoris, multiple Extremis packs, even multiple Terminus at times. It is incredible. The only thing it kind of struggles with at times is getting a charge shot through some of like the super thick enemy clumps, but overall I take this all the time whenever I can on the Siege mode especially. It's also good in operations, but you could pick something else if you want, because the AoE gun strikes do scale down there just because, you know, there aren't as many enemies, but that's really more of like a problem that the operations are easier than the Siege mode, not that this gun is bad. So pretty S tier pick in my opinion. And the next weapon here, Heavy Bolt Pistol, also an S tier pick. I think this is like the best gun overall for operations, just because the headshot multiplier is very good against things like the Neurothrope. Very good gun in this game. It's really between these two for your secondary slot. Heavy Bolt Pistol does a tremendous amount of gun strike damage, just like the Plasma Pistol does. Unfortunately, it does not have AoE gun strikes, but it does make up for that by having a more consistent contested health recovery on top of being able to benefit from a headshot multiplier. So that's why we put this in S. I think these guys are actually kind of interchangeable. I don't really think one is strictly better than the other. It's really up to like what build you're playing and what mission you're playing. Next thing here is the Neo Volkite pistol. A lot of people think this gun utterly sucks. I don't think it is terrible. I actually like this gun on the Vanguard class, especially because he has access to things like the bolt carbine. And the unfortunate thing with like plasma pistol and heavy bolt pistol is like these are the best options flat out for like the assault and bulwark, because they are stuck with only the secondary. So they really do need that extra contested health recovery. And the Neo Volkite is not very good at that. However, it is good at like popping cultists, destroying spores and things like that. It has a pretty decent AoE explosion it can do. It's obviously not an S tier or even an A tier. I would say it's probably like a B. It is pretty good. I like it. Like, you know, maybe I'm biased towards this gun, but Neo Volkite is quite good. Pretty strong pick for the Vanguard class, especially because he doesn't gunstrike as much, because he's usually using a block weapon, because he just benefits from block weapons more. But I made a whole video about that before anyways, so I would just put that here. Next weapon I have is the Inferno pistol. Now, Inferno pistol is not utterly trash. It's just that its gunstrike damage is abysmal. I don't think it's necessarily good. It's pretty mediocre. A lot of people like it for killing Minoris, but killing Minoris is really like the easiest thing in this game, and giving up significant gunstrike damage is pretty bad already. And on top of that, this gun has a limited gunstrike range. You can only go so far with the Inferno pistol here, and that is pretty much why we're going to put it in C tier, because you can't even properly gunstrike some enemies with this. And the AoE potential of this gun is epic, and I would like it if it actually properly functioned like a Melta pistol should and had like significant gunstrike damage. Because you think like the secondary in this game, it has the lowest range of all secondaries. Really, the only secondary in this game that has any limited range whatsoever for a gunstrike would have the most gunstrike damage. Unfortunately, Saber didn't do that, so I'm gonna put it in C tier, because it's really just like a stagger gun, has like one optimal build path for like magazine capacity, and that's about it. Kind of unfortunate. This thing can really use a buff, but Saber gave it like a 25% gunstrike increase, but it's still the worst gunstrike in the game. I don't know why they did that. I don't know who's balancing this gun, but please buff. Next weapon here, also please buff. A bolt pistol, D tier. This weapon is completely outclassed by basically every single other option. There's like no universe you ever want to use this gun over like a heavy bolt pistol, unless you really just want to like shoot Minoris in the head slightly more, or you want to get like your pattern of excellence off like 2 seconds faster. But besides that, even with like some of its perk reworks, it's just worse than all the other guns. Its gunstrike damage is abysmal. It doesn't really do much compared to like plasma or heavy bolt pistol. It just scales worse than these guns. And just for that reason, the fact that it is totally outclassed, the fact you basically never see this gun used by anybody anymore, should tell you everything about how bad it is in comparison to the other options. It on its own is not horrible. I actually did like this at times with the sniper class in the original version of the game, before they add heavy bolt pistol to everybody for some reason. But right now, I would say it's like the only proper D tier weapon, because it is truly just completely power creeped. Next weapon here for the melee weapons, Power Fist. Power Fist is an S tier melee weapon. This weapon can one-shot every Majoris in the game on the Assault class. It can also one-shot most of the Majoris on the Bulwark class. Incredibly powerful weapon. Can punch Biovores. Its charge attack is basically like the only good function on it, but it's also all you need because it has an absurd range. Before this weapon got buffed to have like an absurd charge attack range, it was like the classes like Assault and Bulwark, well, not really Bulwark, but mainly Assault, they really struggled versus Chaos. Now they still struggle, but slightly less, because this weapon just punches Chaos in the face, and also punch Biovores apart, punch Zoanthropes out of the air, do significant boss damage at range. It's basically like a fist as a gun for a class that has no proper primary weapon. So Power Fist, easy S, probably the best melee weapon in the game currently, besides like the Chainsword, and for that reason we're going to put it here. Now, next weapon here is the Power Sword. Now, I love the Power Sword. I'm a big fan of the Power Sword. Power Sword is very fluid, very fun to use. It did kind of get like catch a bug or nerf in the last patch, so you can no longer do like a running attack out of your stance switch from dodge. That being said, I still think this weapon is A tier. Has great horde control. The only thing really holding it back is that its contested HP recovery is not epic. That's kind of true for most of the melee weapons in this game. However, the alternative option, which is the Chainsword here, does have a combo skip and does have a better contested HP recovery, which is why I would put this over the Power Sword. But Power Sword is still definitely a great pick. Has a tremendous amount of horde control. Power Rake is very good, and overall it's a ton of fun to use. We're going to put it here, and hopefully they fix a bug on it. It'll be even better. Next weapon is Chainsword. I think Chainsword is S tier. I do think it's the overall best melee weapon in the game for most of the classes it's on. Has amazing contested health recovery with the Swift Recovery perk. Has a combo skip, great horde control. The Artificer block version especially just like chews through guys. Unfortunately, you could make the argument it should be in high A now as opposed to S because Power Fist can do more versus bosses and things like that. And this weapon did get nerfed because of the block bug that's currently going on, where the 50% bonus damage on perfect parry or perfect block is not functioning with the block weapons. That being said, I still think Chainsword is very good. You know what? I might put it in high A. This is a hard decision to make because this gun was very broken on tactical for a long time, but with his battle aspects being nerfed, or excuse me, his battle focus perk being nerfed, I could definitely see it being an A. Now we're gonna put it in high A. I don't think it's quite as good as a Power Fist anymore, but it's still very, very strong. So we're gonna put it here. And like most of the classes that use the chainsword, they're being carried by like a gun or something anyways. We're gonna put it over here actually, but they're being carried by their primaries anyways. So this is like a supplementary option to that as opposed to the Power Fist that just slaps guys on its own. Now the Thunder Hammer, this gun is pretty epic. This is an enabler for the assault class, gives him the greatest radius on his ground pound, amazing synergy with Zealous Blow, and even on the Bulwark class it functions pretty well with the Pommel Smash. I would say it's probably in B only because it is worse than all these other options, and unfortunately the aftershock for this weapon is like the hardest thing in the entire game to pull off, and it's just worse than the Power Fist charge attack. And that being said, I would just put it in the B tier because getting charge attacks off in this game is kind of difficult. Aftershock 2 is probably the hardest thing to do with any melee weapon in the entire game. I don't feel like the damage output is quite there to justify using it over some of the other options like the Power Fist especially, and really it can just get you caught by chaos. It is probably the worst option on the Bulwark currently. Still a ton of fun. The Pommel Smash is very good. You can take it into operations, but in siege mode especially, the Thunder Hammer kind of falls apart versus like late wave chaos because they'll just nuke you down while you're charging, which is the unfortunate truth. But Thunder Hammer is still pretty good. Definitely underrated. Block Knife, or excuse me, Combat Knife. This weapon is like the best boss damage ever on the, or like the best boss damage for the sniper class in general. I think on all the other classes, like if it's sniper, it's S tier. But like on all the other classes, I would say it is probably like A tier, maybe slightly below the chainsword. It doesn't have the best contested health recovery. Shadow Stab is a pretty amazing tool. I do like the weapon as a pretty good moveset and a pretty good perk tree. I just have to put it below the chainsword because the chainsword is just better overall for the classes it's on, but this weapon is amazing on the sniper, and it's also his only option. But like Block Knife really does do tremendous damage, it attacks very fast, and it's a very powerful tool, and I probably put it above the Power Sword. So that is the tier list, guys. This is it. I guess we're all done here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. There are some options here I might be convinced to swap around. I do think that like the top 5 for this game is just Heavy Plasma, Multi-Melta, Heavy Bolter, Bolt Carbine, Stalker Bolt Rifle, and it's just the 5 best weapons in the game currently. And Plasma Pistol and Heavy Bolt Pistol are simply the best secondaries overall. Last Fusil's the one that I do really enjoy. When I say it's bad at headshots, what I mean is that its charge up time can be a little rough in a horde, and sometimes that can get interrupted. Overall though, still great for horde control and like much better than the other sniper option with the Bolt Sniper here. And if you want to put this up to S, I could be convinced. It's just I think Bolt Carbine is much better for contested health recovery consistently, and there are better options than the Last Fusil overall. The things like the Stalker Bolt Rifle just annihilate pretty much anything, or just far more forgiving to use and don't have to benefit from targeted shot to properly get your boss damage off with the tactical ambush on the knife. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I don't really think anybody's going to disagree with the Heavy Plasma, Incinerator, and Multi-Melta being absolutely cracked in this game. They really are just those guns, and they are the only S tier guns in my opinion. So that's pretty much all I have to say in this video. Thanks for watching. Let me know how siege mode is going for you guys. I will be doing a trio with Zambit and 4-4 at some point here whenever we get everyone together. Another duo with Zambit later. So look forward to that. And as always, guys, take it easy. Peace.